So my best friend was recently diagnosed with PCOS, and she has
Okay.
struggled with symptoms of it forever. Sometimes she'll get a period and then won't have it for like a year or something, and then
Yeah.
she's has a lot of things. But I read about your journey, and I would love for our listeners. I kind of told Taylor, but and Taylor to just hear your journey with it, because I feel like, especially for the reproductive system of women and
Mhm.
like our hormones and all of that stuff, it's very, um, not that we're not heard, but it's in a sense like
Or not.
it's very hard to diagnose, quote unquote. But that's definitely something difficult, and I know that you struggled with that for a while.
Yeah. I love talking about this because so much about PCOS is awareness.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'll start by saying this is part of the health issues I was speaking of,
Okay.
while I was going through Pretty Little Liars, right?
Okay.
So it was documented, it was like, um, uh, the changes that were happening to me were documented on camera.
Mm.
So I, like your friend, never had a regular period ever. And I just was always told by gynecologists that I was just young. Like, don't worry, it'll regulate. Um, I, yeah, I never really had normal periods. That's kind of how that started.
Mm.
When I turned, it's probably around 15, 16 that I started noticing a difference in just my metabolism in general. But at 17, I gained 70 pounds in a year.
Wow.
And for no reason, there was no explanation for it.
Wow.
And I went to so many gynecologists. I went up to over 15 gynecologists, and they all told me, one gynecologist told me to my face that I was lying, that I must be eating terribly and I must be doing everything wrong because look at you, was essentially what he said.
Wow.
I just wanted somebody to test my blood. I was like, I just see, like this is I've never had a regular period. I feel weird. Like every time I work out, I feel like I'm going to pass out. I don't get those happy endorphins that people should get from working out. I feel physically ill when I eat things that are like actually good for me. It was the most frustrating experience because, and disheartening, because no matter what I did, no matter how well I behaved, no matter how great I treated my body, things were actually getting worse rather than better. It was very, very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So after a long teething process of trying to figure out what was happening, someone recommended that I go to an endocrinologist. And I met up with this lady, and she heard me out. She heard all my things. And I told her, I was like, my mom has hyperactive thyroid, but apparently my thyroid's fine. I just was kind of throwing everything out there. And she was like, well, it sounds like you've got PCOS. We'll need to take a blood test to make sure, but let's figure this out. And I was like, what's that? I never heard of PCOS before, which is polycystic ovary syndrome.
Okay.
And it's a disease. It's not curable. It can be dormant. That's at this stage, that's what they know. The most frustrating part about this is that it is fairly easy to diagnose.
Right.
And really what it is, it's a hormone imbalance. It's a hormone disease. And it's so easy to see because your testosterone or your estrogen will be really high. You'll have really low vitamin D levels. You'll be deficient in a lot of things. You won't have a regular period. But the catch is a lot of other things look different. So everyone has a different experience with it.
Hmm.
It could be your period. It could be weird hair growth. It could be major gastro issues. It could be crazy cysts on your ovaries. It could be weight gain, all the other things that I mentioned with diet and exercise. But some women have all of them. Some women have a couple of them. Some women have one of them. So for instance, I never had cysts on my ovaries, which is, thank God, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of those outward symptoms that, everyone could see.
Right.
And not only that, but PCOS leads to a lot of other things. PCOS can lead to ovarian cancer. It can lead to type 2 diabetes. It definitely is a huge component to infertility. And it's so sad to me that so many women have it that don't know, or so many women had it that didn't know that got cancer,
Mm-hmm.
or, couldn't get pregnant, or things that could be avoidable by just trying to manage it and figuring out what's going to work best for you. It's seriously detrimental to women's health. And my cousins have struggled with type 2 diabetes and cancer. And it just, to me, I always just thought about how, like, what if they had it and they just never knew,
Right.
If they had gotten it, if they were aware of it, maybe it wouldn't have led to that,
Wow.
So it's very frustrating, that it's not, it's getting better, but if I mention that I have PCOS, someone will be like, oh, I have it too. And, or maybe I have that. What are those symptoms? So it's way more common than you think it is.
Yeah.
And it's hard because it does look different, but yeah, I mean, actually on set, this movie that I'm filming right now, a couple of women have it. They all look completely different.
Yeah.
And there's another, lady that I was like, you need to go get this checked out. Cause even if it's not PCOS, hormone imbalances do the wackiest things to women's bodies. And what was interesting about my circumstances, I started to kind of even out, and then I'd have a flare up and I'd gain like 20 pounds in a week.
Wow.
But it was starting to like kind of regulate a little bit. My periods never really regulated. We were trying to work on that with my endocrinologist. My husband and I decided to try and get pregnant, and we were just kind of bracing ourselves. We were like, let's take the stress off. It's probably going to take us over a year anyway. We might need help, let's start this process. Well, we got pregnant within the first month. So, I'll get there. That was a pleasant surprise, but it was definitely a surprise. It was a week before lockdown. It was a week before COVID
Oh my
lockdown.
gosh.
So there was a lot of changes happening, but, I had a difficult pregnancy, but it really wasn't that bad. I didn't get gestational diabetes or anything like that a lot of women do get when they have PCOS. So that was really lucky. And miraculously, Hendrix, regulated my hormones.
Oh, wow.
And it happens in a very small percentage of women. But essentially my PCOS is dormant, and I'm doing everything that I need to be doing to keep it that way. And a lot of that happens to be diet.
Yeah.
Keto diet is very great. It's great for hormone imbalances. It's not good for everybody. It works great for certain things, and it works great for me. So thank goodness. I was able to find that, but, yeah, he regulated my hormones. I have regular periods for the first time in my life. A lot of those things come easier. I love working out again, which was so refreshing.
Wow.
I've really, I knock on wood, hope that I never have to deal with that again. But it's been quite the journey, and I love talking about it because I just want women to know more about it. And I just feel like the louder you are about it, the more people know, the more people get checked out, the more interest there is in helping women, figure it out and get better.